Gary Rosen, and I'm back with Judge Judy Scheindlin. Judge, we asked your fans what topics they would like to hear you talk about, and one of them is responsibility. We were talking about parental responsibility, and you've covered this a little bit, but should all kids go to college?
Oh, all children should have the ability to go to college if they're college material.
Okay.
That being said, I don't necessarily think that all kids are college material. And I think that it's a mistake to try to fit all children into a mode where they think that in order to be successful, they must go to a traditional four-year college and get a traditional degree from a four-year college or university. I think that there are some super talented kids who are wonderful with their hands, wonderful and creative, and wonderful with wood, or wonderful with plaster, or wonderful with electronics. But they really don't care about Renaissance art. Not that they shouldn't be exposed to it, but they don't need 6 months or a year on Renaissance art. What they need is a training ground so that they can take their strength and build on it to be a successful adult. I would rather have a successful young person who is a master carpenter after having been through a wonderful apprentice and whatever vocational training they go through, a successful person in their craft, than a failure as a college graduate who can't find themselves.
Now, you have 5 children, and
I'm not finished with that answer.
All right, then let's keep going.
I'm not finished with that answer, Gary. That being said, I think that every child who has the desire to have a college education should have the ability to get one. And even if you have another creative side that doesn't lend itself to academics, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to your children, listen, I want you to expose yourself to a certain amount of what we would call academic education, because I think that that's good for you to be a well-rounded person. So whether you do that in a night class or an afternoon class or perhaps a summer program, I think that that's wonderful for you to encourage your children to do that. But I don't think we should define success as what you get at the end of 4 years, when sadly at the end of 4 years, so many young people who were promised the world when they start college can't get a job. They certainly don't have a job in a field that they enjoy. They get stuck very often in a dead-end job. Whereas if they were allowed to follow their natural ability, they would probably be far more successful human beings.
And some of our most successful people running businesses never went to college.
That's true. That's true. And some of our most successful icons of business dropped out of college to follow their dreams and to build computers. And
Steve Jobs.
And who would have said, oh, that's, you're going to build what in your garage?
Right.
You're going to finish school. And yet, what would the world have missed had that young kid not followed his passion and his dream?
Now, what about your own children? You have, as I started to say, you have 5 children, 12 grandchildren with your husband, Judge Jerry Scheindlin. Did you feel the same way, or do you feel the same way? Is there pressure on your kids, was there pressure, and your grandchildren to go to college because of following your footsteps and their parents' footsteps?
So far I haven't seen any innate creative ability in any of my grandchildren or children outside the traditional. So I have no one who wants to be a director, a film director, in which case I would encourage them to go to film school, learn a craft. And, you want to be a director, that doesn't mean we're going to buy you a camera and you're going to run around taking pictures of friends, relatives, and strangers in the street. I haven't seen anybody who was particularly proficient at the piano or the violin, or anybody who was, in a classic sense, a young Tiger Woods. I haven't seen any of that. Barring that, you will go to college and try to find yourself in those 4 years.
Great. Thank you.